Jenn Mason, and we're about to use a sewing machine to make, well, a little surprise that's a big surprise.
Exactly. So I work in cubicle land during the day, and there's a lot of birthdays, there's a lot of celebrations. Sometimes it's just like, oh, we killed it today, we did a great job. And we can't always have chocolate chip cookies for that. So I really—
Why not?
Well, okay, you can also have chocolate chip cookies. This sort of adds on top of that. So I came up with this idea because I have scraps and a little bit of time, and I still wanted to make an impact. I still wanted to bring my creative self into the office. And I found this double-sided, this double-folded bias tape is my secret weapon.
I was going to say, for people who aren't familiar with bias tape, can you just tell us what it traditionally is used for?
Yeah, so
it's not actually tape.
It's not actually tape, but yeah, so it's not sticky at all. And it's made to finish hems. In the olden days, people made their own bias tape, but now you can go and buy a package of it at the store. And there's different kinds. There's single folded bias tape and there's double folded bias tape. And what this means is that I can open this all the way up. It's folded once and it's folded twice. So all of your raw edges are all inside, which just makes it the great thing for finishing off, an apron or something else, and it comes in bigger sizes. But this mini stuff, it's really easy to keep handy. I can use all sorts of scraps, paper scraps, like little tiny pieces of fabric scraps. Now I save everything because everything can be made in 5 minutes into a little gift for a coworker.
I was going to say, if you even hem like a pretty dress, you could save the hem from the bottom of the dress and turn it into one of these mini banners.
Right, and they also fold up nice into cards. So if you have a really close friend, Julie, who's having a birthday party, you can fold it up into a nice little handmade card, and there's like a little party in the card. So it's really simple. I've got 3 different examples here. We have triangles and little dovetails and just even plain rectangles for those who don't like fun shapes.
And I can see you've used letter stickers in order to put any of the text that you want on. You could also do stamping.
Right.
If you wanted to really get fussy, I suppose you could cut it out of paper or out of fabric or whatever you wanted.
You could use gel prints or other collages, leftover bits from your journal you didn't like in your journal, but they might work great for this. Like scraps are great for this. And so you start with a bunch of shapes, and you start with a little piece of your bias tape, and you simply are going to put your little piece right inside there. It's just a nice little pocket. And
so it fits it into the bias tape so that it just fits perfectly. You don't have any raw edges.
Exactly. And if you do not have a sewing machine or do not feel like starting your sewing machine, you can also use glue to do this. But you would
staples
or I don't know, all sorts of things. You can use glitter glue. It would probably seep out, but you just are using this to encase it.
Well, I think this would actually be a nice addition if you were working on a quilt or anything like that. This would be a lovely piece just to put on the bottom as kind of like a hanging border or something like that. I mean, you could actually do it all the way around, sort of triangle border style. I think that'd be kind of neat.
I think that would be a great idea. And there's so many things you can do as long as you have some of this double fold bias tape handy.
Well, also I was going to say, like, you're sewing through fabric and fabric, meaning the bias tape and the banner, but you do have some paper. Are there any rules we need to know about sewing through paper as opposed to fabric?
Well, in general, whenever you're sewing with paper, if you have longer stitches, better, because you're essentially making perforated paper. So if you put them close together, you end up tearing them off. But otherwise, it sews pretty easily, just like fabric.
Cool. So let's keep going. And you just have this on a regular straight stitch, but you could obviously do a decorative stitch, a zigzag. Some of the machines nowadays are so fancy. I'm just looking down all the stitches on here, and you could have flowers and triangles and diamonds and peaks and all sorts of fancy, like a Greek key and all sorts of neat stuff, so that you could actually use contrasting thread and get a super decorative look.
Yep. And if you wanted to go bigger, you could use a slightly wider tape.
I was going to say, so you could actually make a huge banner then instead of a little one. So great idea, and it has me wanting to, well, be a hoarder even more than I am.